A gold trommel abandoned and forgotten, yet brimming with gold worth millions. Tony Beets stumbled upon a treasure trove in the Yukon, a discovery that could change everything. With grit and raw determination, he transformed a neglected machine into a gold-producing powerhouse, pulling wealth from spots others deemed impossible. Tune in to this perilous fight where every second counts and fortune favors the bold. Tony Beets $400K Yukon comeback. Tony needed a miracle, but he wasn't waiting for one to drop from the sky. Instead, he gambled big on a rusted-out 30-year-old trommel that had been left to rot in the Yukon wilderness. The thing looked more like a giant scrap heap than a golden ticket, but desperate times call for crazy moves. He dropped $400,000, yes, 400 grand, on this rusty beast, betting it would bring him back from the brink. But as the trommel roared, Tony's heart stopped. What spilled out wasn't dirt. The stakes were sky high. Winter was closing in, and if he didn't get that machine working before the freeze, he'd kiss an entire season goodbye. This trommel wasn't just some stationary relic. No, this hunk of metal had wheels, which meant it could move to the gold-rich spots his old dredges couldn't reach. But first he had to get it out of Moose Creek, a 100-mile journey over rugged mountain trails. Easy, right? Wrong. His son Mike led the crew tasked with hauling the trommel back to camp. The thing was massive, 35 tons of stubborn metal. They had to disassemble it, hauling pieces like the 20-ton drum separately. Then came the kicker. The whole operation hit a snag at the ferry. The trommel was so huge they worried it wouldn't fit. If that didn't work, the backup plan was a 200-mile detour. No pressure, huh? Each day felt like a new disaster waiting to happen. They were fighting mechanical breakdowns, near misses with tipping equipment, and exhaustion. At one point, the trommel nearly flipped and the crew barely escaped a crushing accident. But the team pushed through. They hauled that beast back to camp and set to work restoring it to its former glory. Every nut, bolt, and gear was scrutinized and replaced if needed. This wasn't a quick patch job, it was a painstaking rebuild that dragged on for weeks. The Yukon doesn't wait for anyone. Winter's icy grip was tightening and time was running out. He made the tough call to sideline his old dredge and focus all his resources on the trommel. The crew worked day and night, welding, grinding, and praying that this machine would pay off. And then, after what felt like forever, it was ready. The first test run was a nail-biter. The crew fed dirt into the trommel and everyone held their breath. Would it work? Would it choke? Then finally, the glint of gold appeared. It wasn't much, but it was proof the machine worked. Cheers erupted, and even he cracked a rare smile. That rusty trommel had gone from a gamble to a game-changer. With the trommel operational, the crew shifted into high gear. The mobile machine could hit spots the old dredges couldn't, and it churned through dirt like a beast. Piles of dirt transformed into piles of gold, and the mood in the camp lifted. But he's not the kind of guy to rest on his laurels. He brought in more excavators and loaders to keep the operation humming. He wasn't just mining, he was maximizing every ounce of potential gold. Yet the Yukon doesn't let anyone off easy. Just when things seemed to be running smoothly, the trommel's drum started making a gut-wrenching grinding noise. Panic set in. The crew tore the machine apart and found the problem. A bad bearing was throwing the whole drum out of alignment. Time was money and downtime was a disaster. He shelled out for replacement parts to be flown in by helicopter. The crew worked non-stop, racing against the clock to get the machine back up and running. Meanwhile, he wasn't the only one betting big on gold. Over at Dominion Creek, Parker Schnabel was grinding through his own roller coaster of a season. He had poured $15 million into a risky new claim, and it was make or break time. Parker's crew scrambled to set up a wash plant nicknamed Lucy on a steep hill. One wrong move would have sent the whole thing crashing down. When they finally got it running, it was a tense wait to see if the dirt would pay off. The first weigh in brought in a decent haul, 125 ounces worth a cool $250,000, but it wasn't nearly enough to hit Parker's lofty goals. Over in Bolivia, another kind of gold rush was unfolding. The miners there were stuck in the past, using outdated and dangerous techniques like mercury extraction. He scoped it out but quickly realized it wasn't worth his time. The yields were tiny and the risks were huge. He was after big numbers, not small-time operations. Back in the Yukon, Parker's team faced setback after setback, from mechanical failures to water supply issues. Every step forward seemed to come with 2 steps back. But both miners knew the golden rule: keep pushing or lose it all. By the end of the season, both he and Parker were still standing, battle-scarred but unbroken. The Trommel gamble had paid off, setting him up for a brighter future. Parker's Dominion Creek claim was starting to show promise, though he had a long way to go to recoup his investment. Gold mining is a brutal game, but for these relentless prospectors, the dream of striking it rich keeps them going. After all, in the Yukon, fortune favors the bold. His drive didn't stop there. He had plans to expand his operations further, knowing that each day wasted meant a missed opportunity. The Yukon's short mining season was both a blessing and a curse. The rush to extract gold before winter's icy grip took hold meant non-stop work, but it also brought a sense of urgency that fueled every decision. The Trommel's success gave him a glimmer of hope, but he wasn't ready to call it quits on improving his setup. The Trommel was running, but the Yukon had more challenges waiting. Parker was about to face his own: the fight for gold. Parker, on the other hand, was wrestling with the realities of high-stakes mining. Dominion Creek had shown potential, but the equipment failures and logistical nightmares kept eating away at his profit margins. Lucy's steep placement wasn't the only challenge. The constant need for water to keep the wash plant running smoothly created a chain reaction of problems every time something went wrong. Even a small hiccup in the pump's pressure could bring the entire operation to a grinding halt. The crew's morale was hanging by a thread, and every ounce of gold they pulled had to be stretched to cover mounting costs. As he continued refining his process, Parker found himself grappling with another setback. A fractured intake hose on the pump led to hours of downtime, and every minute lost was money slipping through his fingers. The crew scrambled to patch it up with silicone, a temporary fix at best. They knew the repair wouldn't hold forever, but there was no time for a permanent solution. The constant pressure to perform kept everyone on edge, and the weight of his $15 million gamble loomed over every decision. Despite these challenges, there were moments of triumph. Parker's crew managed to hit promising yields, with the Dominion Creek delivering over 1 ounce of gold per hour at its peak. The glint of gold kept hope alive even as new problems emerged. The decision to move Lucy, a $1 million wash plant, to a new position came with risks, but it also opened up new possibilities for higher yields. The steep hill it rested on was precarious, and any mistake could send the entire operation tumbling. It was a gamble within a gamble, and Parker's nerves were tested to the limit. While Parker navigated these high-stakes decisions, the Trommel was proving its worth in ways no one had fully anticipated. The mobile nature of the machine allowed access to previously untapped areas of his claim. The flexibility gave him a competitive edge, and he capitalized on it, extracting gold from spots that would have been impossible with stationary dredges. The Trommel's output wasn't just impressive, it was transformative for the operation. However, nothing in gold mining comes easy. One of the biggest challenges was maintaining the Trommel's efficiency over time. The harsh Yukon conditions took a toll on the machinery, and repairs were a constant necessity. The drum's alignment issues resurfaced, threatening to derail progress. His hands-on approach and ability to adapt kept the operation moving forward. Specialists were brought in to ensure the Trommel stayed in peak condition, knowing that even a single day of downtime could be catastrophic. As the season progressed, both miners faced the relentless grind of their chosen profession. Parker's Dominion Creek operation began to stabilize, with the crew finding a rhythm that allowed them to push through the challenges. The promise of a substantial gold haul kept them motivated even as setbacks tested their resolve. The wash plant Lucy became a symbol of their perseverance, standing tall despite the odds stacked against them. The journey with the Trommel culminated in a breakthrough moment. After weeks of fine-tuning and relentless work, the machine hit its stride. The output exceeded expectations, and the piles of gold began to grow. For him, it wasn't just about the money, it was about proving that the gamble had been worth it. The Trommel represented more than a piece of equipment. It was a testament to resilience and determination. By the end of the season, the contrast between his and Parker's approaches became clear. His calculated risk had paid off, positioning him for a stronger future. Parker, while still facing an uphill battle, had shown that his relentless drive and willingness to adapt could overcome even the toughest obstacles. Both men embodied the spirit of the gold rush, where every decision carries the weight of potential success or failure. As winter closed in, the camps prepared to shut down, reflecting on the season's lessons. For him, the Trommel had proven to be a game changer, and he looked ahead to new opportunities. Parker's Dominion Creek operation, while fraught with challenges, had laid the groundwork for future success. The Yukon's goldfields are unforgiving, but for those who dare to dream big and work even harder, the rewards can be life-changing. The gold rush isn't all shiny nuggets and triumphant cheers, it's more like a constant battle against everything: the land, the weather, the machines, and yes, your own crew. When you're in a place like the Yukon where the cold bites and the work never stops, it's all about survival of the fittest, smartest, and sometimes the luckiest. For people like him and Parker Schnabel, the gold rush is a battlefield, and leadership is the weapon that separates the winners from the ones left in the dirt. Let's start with him, the man who's as tough as the Yukon itself. He doesn't mess around. He's like the boss who doesn't care if you're tired or if the weather's bad. He wants results, and he wants them now. His team, mostly family, which sounds sweet until you realize that working with family means drama, tension, and yelling matches that could rival any reality TV show. Take Kevin, his son, for example. They've gone head-to-head more times than you can count, arguing about everything from equipment to strategy. Sure, his no-nonsense approach gets the job done, but at what cost? Keeping the crew together and motivated when your leadership style is more drill sergeant than diplomat isn't exactly easy. Now let's flip the coin to Parker Schnabel. If he's the hard-nosed veteran, Parker's the young up-and-comer who's learning the ropes while trying not to trip over them. Parker's style is all about collaboration. He's the guy who'll actually listen to his crew most of the time and tries to solve problems as a team. But don't mistake his friendliness for softness. Parker's drive to succeed pushes everyone to their limits, and not everyone can keep up. He's had his share of conflicts, whether it's over a busted pump or a risky investment. Still, Parker's willingness to adapt and learn from his mistakes often gives him an edge. Parker's struggles grew as Tony's success pushed him harder. The real test was just starting: grit versus strategy. Gold mining isn't just digging holes and hoping for the best. It's a logistical nightmare where every second counts. Imagine trying to move a massive piece of equipment, like a trommel, through rocky terrain while everything that can go wrong does go wrong. That's exactly what his crew faced. Mechanical breakdowns, near disasters, and frayed nerves made it a day no one wants to relive. But he held it together, barking orders and keeping everyone focused. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. Parker's challenges look different but are just as intense. When he decided to sink millions into a new claim, it was a gamble that kept everyone on edge. Every time a machine broke down or the gold yield didn't meet expectations, you could feel the tension rising. Yet Parker's knack for involving his crew in problem-solving turned potential disasters into opportunities to pull together. It's not perfect, sometimes tempers flare, but it's a style that's earned him respect. Then there's the physical and mental grind. Mining isn't for the faint of heart. Long hours, freezing temperatures, and back-breaking labor can turn even the best teams into ticking time bombs. This is where leadership becomes make or break. A good leader knows when to push and when to pull back, when to crack a joke to lighten the mood, or when to step in and help with the heavy lifting. His tough love approach might not win any popularity contests, but his ability to rally his team when it matters most is undeniable. Parker, on the other hand, gets his hands dirty alongside his crew, earning loyalty through shared sweat and effort. Parker's what-if moment came when he placed a wash plant on a steep slope. Bold, yes. Risky? Absolutely. When things inevitably went wrong, he didn't waste time pointing fingers. Instead, he turned the setback into a problem-solving session, showing his crew that teamwork beats blame any day. At the end of the day, it's not just about the gold. Sure, that's the goal, but the real story is about grit, determination, and what it takes to lead under pressure. Both he and Parker have their flaws. Who doesn't? But their ability to keep pushing, to keep leading, and to keep their crews together in one of the toughest jobs on Earth is what makes them stand out. The Yukon doesn't give second chances. It's cold, brutal, and unforgiving. But for those who can lead with strength and heart, it's also a place of endless possibilities. Whether you're a seasoned veteran like him or a rising star like Parker, the lesson is clear. Leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about being present, making the hard calls, and inspiring your team to dig deeper, sometimes literally when it matters most. Let's delve deeper into the layers of this unforgiving industry. Behind every piece of gold pulled from the earth lies a mountain of grit, determination, and sacrifices few are willing to make. These gold miners don't clock out when the sun sets or when the weather turns bad. The workday doesn't stop when there's still dirt to move and gold to find. Each operation is like a living organism. Every cog needs to move perfectly in sync or everything falls apart. Parker's team faced a different kind of challenge, managing costs and maximizing efficiency on his new claim. Investing millions is one thing, making sure every dollar counts is another. Parker's youth doesn't mean he's naive. He's shown time and again that he's willing to take calculated risks and put in the work to make them pay off. His collaborative style might be a stark contrast to his authoritarian approach, but it's no less effective. By involving his team in key decisions, Parker fosters a sense of ownership and accountability that drives results. Parker's gamble with the wash plan on a slope is another lesson in resilience. When the plan started to unravel, he didn't waste time assigning blame. Instead, he brought his crew together to brainstorm solutions, demonstrating the power of teamwork in overcoming adversity. These moments are not just about fixing problems, they're about building trust and unity within the team, ensuring everyone is ready to face the next challenge. Leadership in the Yukon is a high-wire act, balancing the need for results with the well-being of the team. Tony's no-nonsense style and Parker's collaborative approach each have their strengths and weaknesses, but both men share a common trait: the ability to inspire their crews to push beyond their limits. Whether it's through tough love or shared effort, their leadership ensures that even in the harshest conditions, their teams remain focused and driven. Meanwhile, Parker has embraced innovative techniques to maximize output on his claims. From testing eco-friendly methods to reduce environmental impact to investing in cutting-edge tools, Parker's approach reflects a forward-thinking mindset. His focus isn't just on immediate success, but on creating sustainable systems that could redefine gold mining in the future. This dual approach, honoring traditional methods while pushing boundaries, places Parker at the forefront of modern mining practices. As the gold rush continues, the stories of Tony Beets and Parker Schnabel offer valuable lessons for anyone striving to lead in a high-stakes environment. Their journeys are not just about mining, they're about the resilience of the human spirit and the power of effective leadership. In a world where challenges are inevitable, their experiences remind us that success is not about avoiding problems, but about rising to meet them with courage, determination, and the unwavering belief that the next big strike is just around the corner. Is risking everything on gold worth it when the Yukon gives nothing easily? Let us know in the comments, like, and subscribe for more daring tales.